Ever since the world was overtaken by comic books and superheroes, people have had a fascination with magic-wielding, uber-powerful, or unnaturally clever protagonists.
Naturally, this attraction has been picked up by game designers and utilised time and time again, but a delight for the superhuman seems to have resulted in a distaste for the everyman.
These days, it seems as if many game designers are afraid of making their protagonists ordinary, in fear of being unable to compete with the Avengers-style stronghold of modern-day video game protagonists.
With the second installment of Prototype due on our shelves this week, yet another power-ridden, virus-mutated special man is making an appearance.
The protagonist, Sergeant James Heller, is another victim of the Blacklight virus. Instead of being bedridden and stricken with illness, however, he grows a minivan-sized blade where his arm used to be. He's also gifted with shape-shifting and virus-laden tendrils.
In the field of game protagonists, it seems as if extraordinary is becoming the ordinary. There seems to be more of a stretch these days when it comes to making protagonists that aren't just special, but really, really special. Once upon a time, an invisible jet or neatly worded prophecy would cut it.
These days, though, you have to be nanotechnologically augmented like J.C. Denton, or an amnesiac shapeshifter like Alex Mercer. A perfect case in point occurs in Skyrim when you first come across the book on the Dragonborn. The game tried to be coy about it, as if there was anybody who didn't immediately know they were the chosen one of millions. The formula is generally as follows. If there's a massive source of supernatural, magical, or prophecy detail power going around, chances are you're at the center of it. There are definitely advantages to creating special characters. They already have a foundation for being powerful and have potential to level throughout the game. It also lets the developer create epic stories in an adventure setting or fearsome opponents in a combat setting, whereas for an everyman this can be problematic. A significant downside in the creation of mythically powerful characters is that the tougher the protagonist, the tougher the enemies need to be. Darksiders runs into this issue as it features war and death respectively in each installment.
Now, one would expect the Horsemen of the Apocalypse wouldn't find much opposition, but apparently they have a hard time with some of the Hell Demons.
The same sorts of problems arise with Kratos in God of War. Generally, the superhuman or immortal in these cases needs to be artificially reined in to allow for in-game progression and to avoid becoming overpowered. Occasionally, you'll get the game that tries very hard to center itself, and perhaps even sells itself, on the promise of an everyman. Unfortunately, it's too often that this is given up on towards the end of the game. Take Beyond Good and Evil, for example. You're an ordinary girl who works as a photojournalist and takes care of orphans in your spare time. It seems as if you have been innocently thrust into a humanity-threatening governmental conspiracy, when it turns out you've been harboring the soul of one of the bad guys all along. Even Uncharted is guilty of an ultra-human protagonist. Here, the supposed everyman Nathan Drake is inexplicably imbued with ridiculous athleticism and combat capabilities, to the point where he doesn't really fit the mold of your average Joe.
Skyrim offered up an hour or two of being your run-of-the-mill dead man walking. Beyond Good and Evil offered up 90% of its game before the veil of mediocrity was lifted. So is it just game designers wanting to up the ante for their special protagonists, or are we as gamers disinclined to play the everyman?
Though there is a fair amount of contempt for the everyman in gaming, there is the occasional exception to the rule. Silent Hill Downpour features the protagonist Murphy Pendleton, who may be an ex-convict, but it is stressed by Brian Gomez, the design director, that he is not a superhero. He's not invulnerable, and his survival relies on fumbling with weapons and making the most of his mortal strength. Passing up on the superpower-riddled protagonist is an important feature for many successful horror games. Any extra abilities deteriorate the fear instilled in the player through controlling a weak protagonist within a demon-filled game world.
What the hell is this?
Even in Mass Effect, though you can choose to be a war hero without having done anything, on the whole you're just a talented soldier who works pretty hard for the skills you build. Guybrush Threepwood must battle the ghost pirate LeChuck without any supernatural help, though he is a mighty pirate. Similarly, Half-Life features your everyday theoretical physicist Gordon Freeman, just going about his life at Black Mesa. As expected, the shit does hit the fan, but there's no radioactive spider or fortunately positioned vat of nuclear waste to break his perfectly unspecial fall.
Unfortunately, these games are becoming the exception and not the rule.
The great thing about everyman protagonists is that they let the game world and plot shine without sticking a superhuman, crazy powerful, virus-stricken or medically, cybernetically or genetically enhanced protagonist in the middle of all of it.
Do you guys want to see more Everyman in upcoming games? Or do you still get a kick out of being an all-powerful superhuman?
No! Oh, Jesus! Oh, God!